What is the Gemini API? The Gemini API is a programmatic interface provided by Google AI, enabling developers to build AI-powered applications or features using Google's Gemini models. With this API, developers can leverage Gemini models for various functions such as content generation, dialogue agents, summarization, classification systems, image processing engines, and more. This presents an excellent opportunity for developers to integrate AI capabilities into their applications without creating custom models. Now that we have an overview of the Gemini API, let's look at its structure. The Gemini API is part of Google's suite of generative AI APIs. Each version of this RESTful API comprises two main elements: resources and types. Resources represent the entities that clients can interact with via the API. Examples include models, operations, and tuned models. Types, on the other hand, represent the standard data formats exchanged within the API and between clients and the API. These define how data is sent to a resource endpoint and how responses are returned. Examples of types in the Gemini API include content, multi-part content of a message, generative content response, a response from the model supporting multiple candidates, and content embedding, a list of floats representing an embedding. Each resource in the API includes a set of methods that define the actions developers can perform. In the API documentation at ai.google.dev/apis/rest, under the REST section in the side menu, you can expand any available API version to view its resources and types. Expanding a resource reveals all supported functions. The Gemini API functions reside under the model's resource, representing the generative language models. Including Gemini, the model's resource is structured as a JSON object, with a name property identifying each model. Each model name is prefixed. For example, models ChatBison-001 refers to the ChatBison model, and models Gemini Pro refers to the Gemini Pro model. The structure also includes details like the model version, input token limit, output token limit, and temperature, which indicates the randomness of the model's response. Configurable parameters like temperature can be adjusted based on the desired output type. Now that we've reviewed the model resource properties, let's examine the supported functions. In the current stable version, v1 of the API, the following methods are supported. The list method retrieves a list of all available models, including Gemini Pro Vision, embeddings, and others. The get method retrieves information about a specific model by its name. The generate content method takes a prompt as input in the standard generate content request type format and generates a model response. The count tokens method calculates tokens using the model's tokenizer. The stream generate content method generates a streamed response, useful for collecting the response in chunks. And the embed content and batch embed content methods generate single or batch embeddings from the model, respectively. API versions. In this segment, we'll explore the different API versions currently available on the Gemini API. Previously, we reviewed the REST API page at ai.google.dev/api/rest. On the side menu under the REST section, you'll notice two versions of the API, v1 and v1 beta. Let's delve into what these versions offer for developers. The v1 version of the Gemini API is the stable release, meaning all features within this version are fully supported by the Google team throughout its lifecycle. If there are any breaking changes, a new stable version will be created to incorporate the updates, while the current stable version remains unchanged. This approach ensures developers have ample time to transition to the new stable version. Non-breaking updates will be integrated seamlessly without altering the version name. Conversely, the v1 beta version introduces early access features still in development and prone to rapid changes. Note that features in the beta version may not necessarily appear in subsequent stable versions, so it's advisable not to use this version for production applications. Pricing. In this segment, we'll review the Gemini API pricing. The API uses a usage-based model, but charges depend on your usage. Visit ai.google.dev/pricing for detail. Currently, pricing for the Gemini 1.5 Pro model is shown, but you can switch to the Gemini 1.0 Pro model using the drop-down menu. Gemini offers two plans, free and pay-as-you-go. For this course, we'll use the free plan, which allows up to 15 requests per minute, 32,000 tokens, and 1,500 requests per day at no cost. For higher usage, you'll need the pay-as-you-go plan, which offers up to 360 requests per minute and 30,000 requests per day, with a charge of 50 cents per million tokens for input and $1.50 per million tokens for output. Pricing details may change frequently, so regularly check the pricing page for updates. The pay-as-you-go plan is expected to be available from May 2, 2024. For the course's basic tasks, the free plan will suffice. Next, we'll cover crafting effective prompts for the Gemini API. Designing prompt data. When interacting with a chatbot, prompts can be typed freely, similar to using a Google search. However, structuring prompts effectively enhances response quality. This video explores that structure and how to use it with the Gemini API. Crafting prompts to elicit desired responses is known as prompt design. A prompt is a natural language request sent to a model, such as, "Who is Joe Biden?" or "When was the Great Wall of China built?" Understanding the structure of a prompt is crucial for effective design. Gemini prompts consist of 3 types of content: input content, context content, and example content. Input content. This is the required part of the prompt, containing the text for which you want a response. It can be a question: who painted the Mona Lisa? A task: name 3 countries in Africa. An entity request: identify the following as plant or animal. Or a completion: fish cannot survive on land because. Context content. This helps the model understand what to do with the input, providing instructions or information to generate a response. For example, classify the following programming languages as compiled or interpreted. Example content. This defines the expected response format, guiding the model in phrasing and scope. For instance, providing an example like, for January, New Year, first day of the year, for the prompt, list 5 global holidays. Including multiple examples improves response accuracy. Prompts with no examples are 0-shot, 1 example are 1-shot, and multiple examples are few-shot prompts. While context and examples are optional, they significantly enhance response quality. Generating content. Having mastered sending requests to the API with well-crafted prompts, let's explore generating and understanding response types. The Gemini API supports both text and image inputs, depending on the model. The Gemini Pro model accepts only text, while the Gemini Pro Vision model accepts both text and images. Content is generated using the Generate Content method, with examples shown for both models. Currently, both models return only text responses. However, the Gemini Pro model supports multi-turn conversations, enabling interactive chat formats useful for creating AI tools like support assistants and chatbots. The Gemini Pro Vision model does not support multi-turn conversations. Additionally, the API offers streamed responses, delivering responses incrementally for a more interactive user experience, similar to how ChatGPT displays answers in parts. This concludes our overview of the Gemini API. Next, we'll generate an API key to access the API.